Good morning. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityoramamritam Gamaya Avirmaedhi Rudrayate Dakshinangamukham Te Namam Pahinityam. Om. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Reach us through and through ourself, and evermore protect us from ignorance by thy sweet, compassionate face. Let us sit quietly a few moments and meditate on the Supreme Spirit in any way we please. bhadrang karnevi shrunuyama devaah bhadram pasyemakshavajatraah sthirairangayestushtvagam sastanubhihi vyasema devahitayadayuhu. May we hear with our ears what is auspicious. May we see with our eyes what is auspicious. May we enjoy with strong limbs and bodies the life allotted to us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all. Opening the heart to the spiritual quest. That probably forms the central subject of spiritual striving and spiritual life, the spiritual quest, anything to do with that which is not physical and not psychological, beyond what is physical and beyond what is psychological. How do we get in touch with that reality, if such a reality exists? How do we get in touch with that reality? How do we experience it? How do we verify its truth and its existence? Those are the questions, the major questions in spiritual life. Because religions of all religions will speak about something which is beyond the ordinary experience. Ordinarily, what we experience in this world, physical things, mental, intellectual things, ideas, thoughts, feelings, emotions, all these things we have sciences to deal with. There are physical sciences to explain the nature of the universe around us, which have been very successful. There are medical sciences to explain the different states of the body. Again, a great deal of progress has been made. Psychology, psychological researches have been done, and many things have been understood about human psychology, what leads to happiness, what leads to disturbance of happiness. All these things have been very well studied, and much progress has been made. Still, progress has to be made, further progress has to be made, no doubt. But in these areas, at least we can point to a certain amount of success. Yes, we have understood a great deal, even though there's much more to be understood. But religion has been an exception to that. Generally, it is felt that what has been experienced in the past, that has become the absolute final word. And somehow that is to be incorporated into our lives in a certain way. But there's always an idea that it's a fixed thing. Religion is something that is fixed and set, you might say set in concrete. These certain ideas have been well elaborated over thousands of years, and no further progress need be sought, because everything that is necessary, all the the things that are needed for a satisfying spiritual life have been elaborated in the various religious traditions. And generally it is, these traditions feel themselves, although there is certainly development, experimentation, new thoughts, further elaborations of old ideas, this is going on, but it is, the emphasis in science is on the new, the thing that can be changed, the thing that needs to be investigated, an eagerness to learn more, to see more, to experience more. Religion has been more or less, with exceptions of course, but more or less relegated to the idea, been there, done that. It's something that was formulated long ago, fully, satisfactorily, and now we have to follow that. But we don't necessarily understand it. We don't really know what we are following. The criteria of religion, the panorama of religion is more or less relegated to that which is not easily experienceable, or perhaps in general not experienceable at all, except in the past to certain individuals. And now if we accept that and live according to their precepts, that's all we need. In other words, there's a lack of dynamism in general, with exceptions definitely, but in general there's a lack of dynamism. Religion is like a more or less static thing. It's a matter of belief, of acceptance, of following traditions, and they then, in the course of that, certain experiences will be there, and some proofs will be given, but the emphasis is on the things that have been done in the past, the great people of the past, the saints, the prophets, the incarnations, and by accepting their experiences, the path is laid out for us. But that doesn't bring religion very close to our everyday experience. It means that religion is, we do our daily lives, we go to work, have our professional life, have our family life. All of that is considered as a separate entity related to the religious impulse, and somehow relationship bridges are built between what I'm doing now and that divine realm, that spiritual realm that I want to experience. But basically the emphasis on what is being done now. I live my family life, and that is more or less separate from the spiritual life. I may have a shrine at home, and I will sit in that shrine in the evening at a certain time. I'll be very regular about it. Or I will go to church and attend the various services. But there's nothing absolutely immediate about it. It is something that I do along with my family, my job, my studies, my this, my that. I also have religion. Swami Vivekananda put it this way. My lady in her parlor has different things, some chairs of an ancient, say Victorian style. Maybe there's a Chinese vase, maybe there is a reproduction of an old Dutch painting. So there are various objects of interest around the house, and along with that we also have a shrine, and people come to visit us. Yes, please visit our shrine, and we we feel very satisfied. Yes, we are doing the spiritual, what is spiritually necessary, what is spiritually beneficial. But it is not real. That is the problem. We do all of these things, and we follow all these customs and all these traditions, and it looks like everything is just the way it should be, but it lacks only one little thing: reality. It is not real. It is not really essential. It is something we do, we ought to do, we should do because we expected to do it, and certainly we know that in the long run we'll all have to march off the stage of this world, so we prepare our way. Make sure that there's a bridge when we come to the end of our days, that there's a bridge there to the next experience. So we want that bridge to be very strong and reliable. So we do all these things. The heart of religion is somehow missed in the process. Everything is done the way it should be done, but it lacks only one thing. It lacks a feeling of reality. It is something we ought to do and we will do. And occasionally we do feel, yes, this is wonderful. We feel a response from within and a response from without. On occasion we feel that. So it isn't an absolute thing. Yes, there is definitely that. That's okay, but it can be improved. It should be made real. God is present every moment. There's no millimicron or cubic inch space in this whole creation that is not totally filled with God. There's no millisecond of time anywhere that is not fully pervaded by God. Kalosmi, I am time, Sri Krishna says. That is what has to be made real to us. We do everything on the surface, just as we go to our jobs and do our ordinary things. And in the same way, we also have a corner for religion. But the fact is that everything in this universe is religion. What is religion? The point is, what is not spirituality? Everything is filled with God. That is the message of the Upanishads. Sarvam Khalidam Brahma. Everything, Khalu indeed, is Brahman. In other words, is spirit, is spiritual consciousness. Okay, then the question is, okay, everything is consciousness, you should make it a part of our life, it should become real. Okay, but what is it? So it has to come, it has this spiritual yearning, this spiritual intensity which we try to put into our lives has to actually be seen as being real. Actually, that spirit has to be experienced. Oh, well, yes, that's for people who have retired to the Himalayas and sitting in deep meditation hour after hour, that understanding comes. No doubt that's true. But the chances of us all going to the Himalayas and doing this and that are very small. Furthermore, most of us don't even want to go to the Himalayas. It's not a very, very pleasant place, physically speaking. You know, if you're not aware of the spiritual reality, it's a very austere place. There was a storm a couple of years ago that completely wiped out villages there in that area. It's a very austere place. So what is it that I mean, how is it that we're going to make this real? And that is the topic of this presentation here this morning, opening the heart to the spiritual quest. Unless the heart is opened, it all still remains as something very formal. It's very good. There's nothing wrong. It's highly to be praised. It's very, not only virtuous, it's very effective. It does give us a lot of peace of mind. It gives us a great deal of support and of strength. Yes, this is fine. This is absolutely no criticism in that sense. The only thing is to make it real and to make it constant. I can feel maybe when I go to a temple, one can feel that in places where God has been worshipped for a long time. That is what makes a holy place. If you go to one of these ancient cathedrals in Europe, or the holy places where the Virgin Mary has appeared, or there's a square in Mexico City, the Cathedral of Guadalupe, which was built on the spot where the Virgin Mary appeared to a native American, native Mexican, and asked him to build a church for her. Go to the bishop and tell him that he should build a church for me. And of course, the bishop wasn't going to listen to an ordinary person asking him to build a church, saying that the Virgin Mary had appeared to him. So what evidence would he have of the truth of his remarks? And she gave him a shawl and roses which could not have grown, fresh roses with dew on the petals that could not have grown in that area at that time, and the shawl had her image on it. So this is the sort of thing we need to convince the bishop that something extraordinary like that had been provided. When Moses was asked to go to Pharaoh, and the Israelites were in slavery at that time in Egypt, and Moses was asked to go to the king of Egypt and tell him to release these Israelites, and Moses heard the word of God from this burning bush, and he said to God, what will I show the Pharaoh to prove that this is right, that I have the authority to make this request? And he saw this bush was burning but was not being consumed. That was the miracle he saw. But what would Pharaoh see? What would the king see? So like that, this is in extraordinary cases, we demand extraordinary things. So when the Virgin Mary wanted this cathedral to be built, for that she gave this particular miracle. Moses had this other miracle. So for extraordinary things, extraordinary visions will be there. In our own lives, at extraordinary times, no doubt, we will have spiritual experiences, we will have spiritual exaltation, we will have great conviction and all that. That is all wonderful. That is what keeps us afloat, spiritually speaking. But that is not enough. It has to become every moment, every day, every minute that one feels that there is only God present here. That what I see as limited individuals, people, buildings, things, this is at one level, this is true, but all of this is permeated by the presence of God. That is what I have to feel. So here comes the title, Opening the Heart to the spiritual quest, opening the heart to the spiritual quest. Why is it the heart? Swami Vivekananda said in this very same respect that he would much rather have all heart and very little intellect than all intellect and no heart. Because the heart opens up the secret of what is real here. The intellect will examine it and is absolutely necessary. The intellect is the guide in this universe. Without that, we could not manage. So the intellect is crucial for our existence, for ordinary life, for planning for the future, for remembering the past, for dealing with, all the circumstances of life. The intellect is crucial. And the heart is generally seen as being something like a dessert to the main meal. It is something that is wonderful and, exalting and exhilarating, but this world is real, and the intellect knows how to deal with this real world. We cannot escape the fact that this strong conviction of the reality of the present, and it is real. It is real, and it has to be seen as real, and we have to deal with it as real. But we have to add something to that. There is something else. Within that reality, there is the infinite and the eternal. This reality is fine and has to be dealt with now, but it is the surface of the ocean. What the ocean is what the heart will open us up to. Now, you see all sorts of people in this world. You walk along, you see men and women and children. But when you see someone whom you have a very fond relationship with, it's a totally different thing. You can see 1,000 people, but for instance, when you see your mother, there's that person as a physical being, like any other physical being. But the heart tells you something else. This is not an ordinary being that I just simply salute and maybe have a nice talk to for a few minutes. This is my mother. There's a totally different significance here. In the same sense, everything that we see, the feeling should come within ourselves. This is God. This is the Spirit. God is here. The Spirit is here. So then the question is, what is that God that you're seeing? What is the reality that you're trying to see within the appearance? That requires the opening of the heart. The feeling. Intellectually, the intellect will only tell you, say this is your mother, the intellect will only tell you she's a lady, she was born like this, she's this tall, and she has had these experiences, and in the past she cared for me so wonderfully, and now I'm very much indebted to her and all that. So many facts I have assembled by the intellect. She was born at such and such a time, and so I have to remember her birthday, and God help me if I forget it. All these things, the intellect will tell you. But the fact that she is your mother is a truth of a totally different type. Any child that you see creates a certain feeling, a certain idea, certain thoughts, emotions, reactions. Wonderful. Oh, what a sweet child. But if it is your child, there's a totally different aspect to it. Your child is not like any other child. There is something different there. What is that difference? That is that aspect that we're trying to put into our spiritual life also. This is, you see this universe around. Do you see God anywhere? No. I see people and things and energy and this and that. I see so many things, but I don't see anything that I could call God. So, but I'm told that God exists. And I may on occasion have felt the reality. Yes, there is, that God is present. There is a divine presence here. There's a divine reality. You go to a very holy place, you feel that. What is it that makes that experience different from the ordinary experiences where we use our minds? That you feel it's in the heart that difference occurs. And can you define it? Very difficult. You make, many attempts have been made to define it. What is this? What is this heartfelt reality? What is this perceiving of God? What does it entail? What does it mean to feel the presence of God? You're in a certain place with certain people under certain conditions, and then you feel something which you identify as something very profound. And you feel it that this is something very unusual, very powerful, and you identify it with a certain holy being or a certain holy personality. And you say, yes, that is, I feel something, I experience something, something different. How would you characterize that? That's what we mean by opening of the heart. The intellect is fine. It deals with the surface of things very efficiently, very well. It also deals with the more fundamental aspects beneath the surface very efficiently, very well. But there is one factor in addition that makes all the difference, that changes it from merely an ordinary sensation, merely an intellectual exercise. There's something that activates not just the mind, but activates the inner core of our being, the heart. That's what we call the heart. It activates the inner core of our being. We feel a presence, a reality, which on the surface may not appear. The surface may not appear any different, but inside we feel there's a profound thing here which is not on the surface, but which is fundamental and all-supportive, and that is the direction of the heart. So we have, for instance, the prayer that I said this morning when we, at the beginning, and it comes from the ancient scriptures. Our Swami Ashokananda used to use this as his opening prayer at the start of every lecture. And Asato ma sadgamaya, from the unreal lead me to the sat, to the real. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, from tamasa, from darkness lead me unto light. Mrityorma amritamgamaya, from death lead me to immortality. What is it within us that is immortal? How can we be led from death to immortality? Because asato ma sadgamaya, from the unreal lead me to the real. That can be done, see that on the surface also, not only from that can not only be understood at its deepest level, it also has significance at all levels. From darkness, lead me unto light, lead me to understanding. Yes, that's all right. So far, there is nothing necessarily spiritual about it. I could interpret it all as quite ordinary. Mrityorama amritam gamaya, from death lead me to immortality. That makes it spiritual. How can I be led from death to immortality? Well, some people freeze their bodies, and after, they have a written document there after 50,000 years or whatever, please unfreeze me, and then I'll be able to get up and continue my life. That is, of course, one way of dealing with the situation, but we all think that is really a very, very faint, very shallow understanding. What is it within me that is mortal, and what is it within me that is immortal? So that I can be led from what is mortal to what is immortal. That is the opening of the heart. It's the opening to something which is which will not decay, which will not die. Something which is, how do I know that? Because it has nothing material about it. That which is eternal cannot have anything material, no material connection, because everything material is going to decay, we know that. So what is it that is not going to decay? What is it within us that is not going to decay? You cannot say, you can say, all right, I'll call it the spirit. But what the spirit is, you cannot say. You can only feel. You can only approach it in that way. So the whole point is, from the level of the intellect, the title is Opening the Heart to the Spiritual Quest. From the level of the intellect and of the emotions and of the will and all of the, what's associated with our personality, every aspect of our personality. From that, or within that, all of that is going to change. None of that is changeless. All of that is going to change, and inevitably it will decay and it will disappear. So what is it within us? How can we get to that thing which is immortal, that thing which does not die, which does not disappear? That is the quest, that is the question, that is what we have to ask. And that means going to the region of the heart. Because right now, we can experience the presence of God if we try hard enough. We say, oh, no, I have to go to the Himalayas and spend 20 years in huge austerities in order to experience that. No. If that were the case, forget it. Nobody would want to. It would be such a far cry to try to achieve that. Who would want to deal with it? Oh, forget it. No, right now, I can experience the presence of God. How do you do it? That is for you to practice. Because the scriptures invariably make this statement, God is present everywhere. And that's not only the Indian scriptures. Everyone, every religion will assert that God is present right now, everywhere, all the time, immutable, unchangeable. So that has to be felt. And it's nothing you can rationally, if I give you a prescription, okay, you do this and this and this, and if you follow each one of these things for 30 years, you may have that feeling. You may be able to experience the reality of God. Then I would say, okay, well, if that's the only thing I can do, okay, I'll do it. But maybe I'll start tomorrow. I don't feel like starting it today. No, the point is right now, this very moment, you can feel the existence of God. You can feel the presence of God right now. If it weren't the case, very theoretical, we'd have to think twice about trying to achieve it. Right now, it's not something that I'm going to have to be born again for. Definitely not. Well, I may have to be born again if I accept reincarnation, okay. But that's a worldly concern. This body has come, eventually it will go. We know that. Nobody's going to live forever. Even if you freeze, some people apparently freeze their bodies, and with a request that in 50,000 years, please unfreeze me, and then the world will be so much better at that time, and I'll just have an absolutely grand time waking up into such a world. Well, okay, try it. And then maybe in 50,000 years we'll meet again and you can tell me whether it actually worked or not. No, the point is right now, that truth is, truth is real. God is present right now, this moment. If God were not present right now, everywhere, this moment, all of religion would be on very shaky foundations. But the statement that is made universally, why is it that everyone from every sphere talks about that fundamental reality being ever present, totally substantial, totally supportive, totally unchanged, unaffected by time? Why is it that everyone feels that? Every religion feels that. They disagree on so many things. Why don't they disagree on that? Because there's a fundamental reality to it. There's a fundamental truth here. Right now, this moment, I can feel the presence of God. And if you say, no, I have to do so many things, I'm such a sinner and I have so many disadvantages, I say, you don't believe in God, you don't believe in religion, you're just making believe. If you don't believe that truth can be achieved this very moment, you don't really believe in spirituality. And how is it that that experience, or what is the way to get to that experience? It's through the heart, by feeling the reality. How do you feel the reality between a particular lady and your mother? What is the difference? Physically, there's great similarity. There's no particular difference. Intellectually, there may be differences, but again, nothing very particular, nothing very fundamental. But in your heart, you know this is your mother. And this other lady is not. She may be wonderful in every respect, but she is not your mother, and it's not the same thing. So in this same sense, God is present right here and now. There's something very special about every moment, everything, every perception, pratibodha viditam. In every perception, God is to be seen. Pratibodha viditam. In every perception, God is to be seen. Right now, what I'm looking at is God, and I have to feel the presence of God in my heart. How do you do it? You determine to do it. That's how you do it. If there were a technique for doing it that I could write down like a medical prescription, RX, you please take this to the drugstore and they will give you this and that, and you will be able to follow, then that will be a very shallow thing. Right now you are that. You are that divine reality, and there is no reason why you should not be able to feel the existence of it, the reality of it, the truth of it. There's no reason. If I am that, why should I not be able to feel it? I have to make up my mind to feel it. Oh, I'm such a sinner, I can't do this and that. Ah, nonsense. The body may have done this and that. Okay, fine. The mind may have done this or that. Okay, fine. But within us there's something else. If there were only the body and the mind, then our only hope would be the physicians, the psychiatrists, the psychologists. That would be our only hope. And it is our hope as far as the body and mind is concerned, but there is within us the Spirit. God is within us. We have to feel the presence of God. Now you come to a temple. Why do you come to the temple? You see the images on the altar. It's nothing but brass. What is it? When the Israelites were in the desert, in the Sinai desert, Moses went up to get the 10 Commandments. He went up Mount Sinai to get the 10 Commandments. God was going to give him these 10 Commandments. And when he came back with them, he found that they had made an image of a golden calf, cast their golden jewelry into a furnace and made a golden calf, and they were worshiping that calf because they expected to get everything they wanted from that calf. And we say, well, why, that's idolatry. But we're doing exactly the same thing. The point is that right now, this very moment, we can feel the reality of God. If we cannot feel the reality of God this very moment, then we can cast serious doubt on the existence of God. God is accessible, or the Spirit. See, we are bodies and we are minds, and then we maintain that the Spirit is the core of everything. So the Spirit should be perceptible, but it's perceptible through the heart. Opening the heart to the spiritual quest. Feel the reality of God. How do I do that? How do I do it? Again, I say, how do I feel about my mother, that she is different from all the other ladies in the universe? What is it? There's nothing physical. There's nothing, I can't say she is taller or more handsome, more, more gentle, more loving and all that. Maybe not. There may be ladies who are perhaps better equipped in all these respects. But they will not be my mother. I know they're not my mother. How do I feel that? I feel that there's something special there. There's nothing on the surface. So when you look at these things, all these images, or even anything in this universe, it's not that there's anything special in it. It's not that because everything is filled with the presence of God, therefore it has to be more magnificent, more lustrous, more in some way. Nothing. And yet I can feel the presence of God there. I can feel the reality of that. So this is our homework. All right, class, this is your homework. Feel the presence of God. And this is that reality has to be understood. That reality has to be accepted. That has to be, if you say, no, I'm not qualified, I'm not worthy, I'm not this, I'm not that. Okay, it may be true. You may not be qualified, you may not be worthy in some sense, you may not be this or you may not be that. But you can feel the existence of God right now, and you can become a saint in right now. A saint meaning a person who has experienced spiritual reality, spiritual truth. What is the difference between these images and any other images? If you look at them, they are nothing but brass. And what is so extraordinary about that? There's nothing extraordinary about the images. You go into a church, in Catholic churches you have the crucifix, or you have some other symbol. There's nothing physically, nothing intellectually that sets this apart from anything else. And yet we say this is a holy place. Well, what is it that makes it holy? Where is the holiness of the holy places? It's in your own hearts. When you visit them, you tell yourself, yes, this is a holy place, or something envelops you and you feel this is a holy place. And right now you can feel it just like you could feel the presence of divinity, of a divine sweetness, a great reality in these images, or any other images in temples and churches. You can feel that holiness. What is it that you do to feel that holiness? You put your mind in a state in which you are ready to see the holy, and holiness appears. In other places you say, this is not holy, this is just worldly, and nothing holy appears. You're all powerful that way. There's nothing holy here, and you will see nothing holy. It'll be, so okay, so this was true. I was right, there's nothing holy here. But another person will see God, will see only God in that area, and they will see God. They will experience God. The holiness is what you bring to it. The reality is what we see in it. The presence of God is, God is present everywhere. God is present in not only images, but in the steps, in the chairs, in the building, in the people in it. God is present in every perception. Pratibodha viditam. But somehow I only salute the images on the altar. No, I want to feel the presence of God everywhere. That is the thing, and we can do that. Opening the heart to the spiritual quest. That is it. To feel the reality of God everywhere. Because we're told by great saints who have experienced it that this is true. So it's up to us now to verify that truth. And how do you open the heart? That is something all of us can do. To open the heart to the spiritual quest, in the same sense that we open the heart to this lady, that she is my mother, but I feel in a totally different way. In the same way, I can see that presence everywhere. I may not be able to see it all the time, every moment, okay. But if I see it once, or I get a little glimpse of it once, then I know, aha, it can be done. So that is our homework. That is our homework, to see that, to otherwise all of religion becomes just, you come to church on Sunday, and that's very good, and every other day you do your ordinary things, which is very good too, but these ordinary things should be imbued with the presence of God, just as the temple is. If we only go to the temple and feel the presence of God in the temple, as soon as we go out, God is no longer in our minds. The Spirit, the infinite is no longer in our minds. Everything is, yes, I have to do this, and I've got this appointment, that one, oh, I better not forget that, and this. That all becomes, our life becomes like a huge address book, which is fine. We have to do all those things. But in and through everything, we should stop every moment, or every once in a while at least, we should feel, yes, we have to do all these detailed things, but the world is filled with God. There's nothing else. This is the reality. The world is filled with God. These forms, these duties, these places are totally filled with God. I may have to deal with them in certain ways and do certain things, but even all that is a relationship with God. There is nothing but divinity anywhere. And that is our goal, to experience that. That is our homework. So next time, I hope you can hand in your papers, and you'll be graded on... No, that is our homework, to feel that reality right now, every moment.